When you begin to wake up, truly wake up, something subtle yet unmistakable happens. The world around you remains exactly the same, yet nothing feels the same anymore. You start noticing the artificial structures people cling to, the illusions they defend, and the masks they wear with pride. And suddenly, without trying, without speaking, without preaching, you become a mirror. Not because you choose to be one, but because awakening makes you reflect the truth people spend their entire lives avoiding. And when a mirror appears in front of a sleeping ego, it reacts. It resists. It gets irritated. Sometimes even angry. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've done something rare. This is the strange, uncomfortable irony of spiritual awakening. You don't become a threat by attacking anyone. You become a threat simply by existing in a state others can't yet comprehend. Alan Watts once suggested that the awakened person doesn't stand above others, they simply stand outside the game. And when you stop playing the game that everyone worships as reality, you're no longer predictable. You're no longer controllable. You no longer respond to the same fears, the same triggers, the same battles. And nothing irritates the ego more than someone it cannot manipulate, impress, or intimidate. You see, most people aren't living, they're defending an identity. A mask. A story they've been crafting since childhood. A fragile collection of beliefs, fears, insecurities, and borrowed opinions held together not by truth but by repetition. And when you awaken, you unintentionally expose the hollowness of that identity simply by refusing to participate in it. It's not your words that irritate them. It's your silence. It's your calmness. It's your ability to walk away from drama they depend on to feel alive. It's your refusal to feed their illusions, their narratives, their default reactions. People often think spiritual awakening is peaceful, enlightening, beautiful. And yes, it can be all of those things. But rarely does anyone talk about the part where awakening isolates you, not because you want to be alone, but because many people can no longer connect with the version of you that no longer exists. They're trying to speak to an older version of you, but that version has dissolved. You aren't impressed by what used to impress you. You aren't triggered by what used to trigger you. Your attention flows differently. Your energy vibrates differently. Your awareness sees deeper than the surface-level dramas most people use as the primary stage of their lives. And this shift, this unspoken transformation, can make others feel exposed without you ever trying to reveal anything. That's the part Alan Watts understood so clearly. He used to say that the ego is like an actor terrified that the audience is beginning to see through the performance. And when someone awakened enters the room, the ego senses it. It doesn't understand it. But it feels threatened by it. When you're spiritually awake, your presence alone becomes a kind of truth, a silent truth. And truth, for the ego, is like light for a creature of darkness. Not harmful, not violent, but undeniably uncomfortable. Some people will misinterpret your peace as arrogance. Your clarity as judgment. Your detachment as indifference. Your boundaries as ego. Your stillness as weakness. Your introspection as negativity. They will project onto you the very inner battles they refuse to face. You become a canvas onto which they throw their unprocessed emotions. Not because you've wronged them, but because you've grown beyond the wavelength they're operating on, and they don't know how to interpret that shift. This irritation happens in subtle ways. A friend suddenly feels defensive around you without knowing why. A family member feels the need to challenge your silence. Someone accuses you of changing as if that were a crime. Someone says you're acting different, when all you're doing is seeing clearer than you used to. Eventually you learn to take none of it personally, because awakening teaches you a powerful truth: people don't react to you. They react to the version of themselves they encounter when they're around you. The more awake you become, the more you realize that people's reactions aren't about you, they're about their relationship with truth. Their relationship with awareness. Their relationship with themselves. Alan Watts explained that spiritual awakening is not about becoming better than others, it's about dissolving the illusion that you were ever separate from the world. But to someone trapped in ego, dissolving separation feels like death. Because the ego survives only through comparison, conflict, validation, and control. It needs to feel superior or inferior, equal is unbearable. It needs to feel right or wronged, neutrality is terrifying. It needs a story where it is the center, even if that story is built on suffering. So when you walk into a room without needing to prove yourself, without needing to argue, without needing to be liked or chosen or validated, your presence disrupts the emotional equilibrium they're used to. Your independence threatens their dependence. Your peace threatens their anxiety. Your authenticity threatens their performance. Your awareness threatens their illusions. Your ability to observe instead of react confuses those who rely on reaction to feel alive. And the moment you stop reacting to provocations, the moment you no longer respond to emotional bait, the ego of another feels powerless. Not because you're overpowering them, but because you're no longer participating in the game where they feel most comfortable. Awakening makes you non-reactive, but not passive. Detached, but not distant. Present, but not clingy. Loving, but not naive. Aware, but not judgmental. And embodying this balance irritates those who haven't discovered that same balance within themselves. But here's the hidden blessing: those who feel irritated by your awakening are often the very people whose souls are secretly drawn toward it. Irritation is sometimes the ego's last defense before transformation. It's the cracking of the shell. The trembling before a breakthrough. The discomfort that signals something deeper is being stirred. You might notice that the same people who once resisted your presence eventually seek your guidance. The very ones who mocked your silence eventually crave the peace you found there. The ones who were irritated by your detachment eventually yearn to understand how you freed yourself. Because awakening isn't contagious in a dramatic sense, but it is in a subtle one. When you are awake, you give others permission to wake up. When you are aware, awareness spreads quietly. When you are free, freedom whispers to the hearts of those still living in cages. Not everyone will hear it. Not everyone is ready. But the ones who are will feel something shift deep within them when they encounter you. The deeper your awakening, the more you'll see that irritating others is not a sign that you're doing something wrong, it's a sign that your presence is stirring something in them they've been avoiding. And over time, your compassion grows. You begin to understand that every irritated reaction is simply pain wearing armor. Fear pretending to be anger. Confusion wearing the mask of criticism. You start to respond not with defensiveness, but with gentle clarity. Not with withdrawal, but with wise presence. Not with superiority, but with understanding. You begin to embody what Alan Watts often called the dance of life. You move with awareness. You speak with intention. You listen with depth. You question without attacking. You observe without absorbing. You love without possessing. You let go without fear. And the more you walk this path, the more you realize that awakening was never about changing others, it was about changing how you see them. You learn that irritating egos isn't your purpose, but an unavoidable side effect of awakening. You're no longer angry at people for their projections. You simply witness them, understanding that everyone is fighting a battle you cannot see.